This is Pascal for EMP Reviews. Thanks for watching the video, and thanks for everyone who watched our review of Dune Part 2. When Mario, Ernest, and I first recorded the audio for the original version of this video, audio limitations resulted in very different volume levels for the three of us. This new version is a result of my addressing that problem and inputting footage from Dune 2021 and the 1984 film. Unlike most of my other videos, this one is exclusively a review of the Denis Villeneuve movie without a preliminary summary of the events in the entire film. Alright, so I guess first I can just ask you guys what you thought of the movie.
Yeah, we can just, I could start by saying I'm a huge Dune fan. I read the book when I was in junior high, and I love the David Lynch version, and I really like the Sci-Fi Channel miniseries that came out back in 2000. So yeah, I was probably looking forward to it just as much as the next nerd. But yeah, I liked it. It's kind of half a movie. It's kind of hard to judge, But yeah, of course, it looked great. One of the, I don't know. It kind of looks like every high-budget science fiction movie that's come out in the last 15 years. And I don't know if that's a critique or not, or that's just part of the technology doing what it does. But it reminded me a lot of, Prometheus and those Riddick movies. Just stylistically. And almost in tone, too. Those movies are really dry. That's one of the, once again, I guess sort of a critique I would have is... it's kind of so hard to not compare this movie to the other movies. The David Lynch movie was just so colorful, and every scene had something weird happening in it. But this movie, it's just a different interpretation. I don't know. It didn't have the soul of the other movies, but I wasn't really expecting it to. Like I said, the miniseries was really good too. And that's the production in that is it's low budget.
Yes,
low budget. It looks like a
Sci-Fi
Channel, or it reminded me of watching Doctor Who from the 70s, where there's early kind of composites, that kind of stuff.
Well, the new Doctor Who has a low budget too.
Yeah, but they're probably utilizing a lot of digital stuff. Yeah, the effects weren't the greatest. But yeah, I like the movie. Like I said, it's kind of hard to have a completely formulated, I kind of need to see the second part. It's we've seen half a movie, you know what I mean? We all know what's going to happen.
Yeah.
We've seen the other movies and read the books, and, I don't know, what do you think? What do you think, Mario?
Oh, yeah, go ahead.
I actually don't know what's going to happen. I didn't read the books.
Oh, you didn't?
I didn't watch the movies all the way through. I just have a few memories from when I was a kid of watching the movie, sparing, very sparse memories, and I think I only watched maybe a quarter of the movie before I bounced.
Oh, that's interesting. So you pretty much watched up to where the this movie ends. I think that's about a quarter of the David Lynch movie, right? When they go to meet the Sand People.
Most likely, but
it's a good 30 or 40 minutes into the movie. Everything happens very quickly in that movie. I know it's a really long movie, but somehow he's able to compact a lot of. Even from watching this movie, because they don't really get even to the book. They get because the book's this big. I don't know. It's 400 pages, and the end of the movie is maybe page 150, maybe page 80. Yeah.
So that was a rough read for me.
It takes a while to get into the momentum of the book, because one of the things the David Lynch movie I think captures is everything's told in the third person. You get into people's internal monologue every other paragraph in the book, and David Lynch tries to recreate that, and this movie kind of tries to do that a little bit, because there are these weird voiceovers that pop up every once in a while, and you're like, who the fuck's talking? You know what I mean?
Well, that's only. I think that was only when Paul was having his visions, right?
I feel like it happens a couple of times in conversation. Maybe it's just because it's muffled and I can't hear exactly. I only watched the movie really once.
Oh, that is actually one of my gripes. Is some of the dialogue is hard to understand. You have to turn on the subtitles.
Well, yeah, I had the subtitles on, so it seemed like these. I think it was trying to do what the book does every once in a while, but it happens so sparingly that it's kind of confusing, maybe a little bit. Yeah. But it also, this movie, much like Blade Runner, and I haven't read any anything that the director said about it, but is very interested in dreams. I mean, even before the logo for whoever produced this, even before the movie actually starts, like pre-logo, they even have this like small, like really short. There it is. Dreams are messages from the deep, and this is before the Sony or whoever produced Paramount logo comes
Before
on.
the logos, yeah. We'll definitely get to that. So we're still on your response to the movie.
The movie was freaking great. So
Okay.
it was incredibly iconic. Visually, it took the whole cake.
Yeah.
The sound, it made the movie 5 times better. If you're lucky enough to see it in IMAX, then you lucked out. Visuals were stunning. Like I said, it's very iconic. It's definitely gonna be in the consciousness of people for years to come. And it seemed like a stylistic continuation of Blade Runner 2049. That's why the movie kind of feels like we've seen these type of movies before. I think 2049 laid the groundwork.
For sure. In some ways, it works as a prequel to the idea, because there's the reason there's no robots in Dune is because they rebelled, and that kind of seems like what's going on at the end of Blade Runner.
Yeah. Well, apparently, 10,000 years before the events of Dune, machines were completely outlawed.
No, they were outlawed because there was like a Terminator-style rise of the machines. That's what's one of the coolest things about this book, like the amount of history that happens before the book even starts. Is mind-boggling. I know the longer cut of the David Lynch version has like a 20-minute prologue with a bunch of art, like pictures, renditions of like the robot rebellion and everything that leads up to Dune.
Well, actually, what it is and David Lynch removed his name from this cut of it. It was a cut for TV.
There was the cut for TV.
That TV prologue is on YouTube.
Oh, it is. But I really like I haven't seen that version of the movie in years, but I really like the art. I remember watching it and really enjoying the kind of slideshow of.
It does feel like the old style sci-fi kind of stuff. Yeah, like somewhat heavy metal-ish kind of.
Yeah, it reminds me. Yeah, it has like the princess's floating head that's like in outer space. Like I think she's the one that's recapping like the prologue.
Yes, it's Virginia Madsen.
Yeah, she's so great in Dune, and she's only in it for like 5 seconds.
Yeah. So as far as my take on it, let's see. I definitely thoroughly enjoyed it. Just like, and I hate to say this, but just like Blade Runner 2049, as much as I like that movie, there wasn't a moment. Because every time I see a Christopher Nolan moment, there's a point in the movie where I'm completely taken in. Like in Tenet, the opening shot, I was like, boom, I'm sold. With Dune, I guess some of the special effects kind of grabbed me, but I wasn't mesmerized. Which is what I'm looking for. And a great movie, but. Unfortunately, the end fight scene, granted, it's part of the plot from the book, and it's a good ending stop point.
You think so? Yeah.
It's a little anticlimactic, and it didn't help that Javier Bardem and Zendaya, when they were talking, it was flat. There was no voice inflection or whatever the term is, and it seemed like they were just giving rehearsed lines. So I as far as a grade, I guess it will go into grades as the last part of this. So I'll keep that for later. But I would definitely tell anybody to go see it. The problem is as much better as it is as a storytelling plot device for people who aren't familiar with Dune. It's better than the David Lynch version. And I use the term David Lynch loosely because we could get into studio interference.
Oh yeah, whatever his true vision for that movie would have been. Or
well, he actually wanted to do 2 parts, and they said no, and he wanted a longer version. So God, like that's what there's a name for the fan cut, and I don't know what it is, but I've seen it, and it is definitely better. But so yes, I use the term loosely as far as David Lynch version, and the proof of that is when they put on TV, he's like, I want nothing to do with it, I don't know who hates their movie more, if it's David Lynch against Dune or if it's David Fincher against Alien 3, stuff. But yeah, okay, so yeah, that's my take on it. My main concern for the movie not explaining things well to an average person was mostly due to, I'm like, if it's not going to make enough money, we're not going to see part 2. But thank God it's been announced.
It seems like people went and watched it, right? Hey, were there people in the theater when you watched it, Mario?
Not that many.
What time did you go?
We went at night. What day was it? Was it a weekend? I can't remember what day it was.
Was there people in the theater when you went?
Yeah.
Okay.
It was Monday, and it wasn't overly packed, but there was a very healthy amount of people who went to see it, which was great. And you could kind of tell, the kind of average age,
Yeah. Moviegoer.
12-year kids to go see this movie. And that's another point, too. It's not a movie that's going to radiate repeat viewings, unfortunately.
Yeah. I mean,
compared to Star Wars, the Marvel film, it's not like that. But hey,
part 2 has all the
so far
cool
it's
stuff.
made $223 million against a $165 million budget, and that is, of course, they never mention advertising, and it blows my mind that I believe I'm correct with this. Sometimes advertising is another $100 million.
Absolutely. Sometimes it costs as much as the movie or more,
which is ridiculous. But okay, so first thing, the first quote at the beginning of the movie. Dreams are messages from deep, and also the sound that you hear when this comes up is the Sardaukar chant.
Oh, right.
We're going through their tradition of war, I guess, is what it is. So I guess I'm not quite sure. Maybe it's referring to Paul's visions.
Well, yeah, that's in the movie context for real, but it just ties. I don't know, the director's kind of like auteur, kind of like vision for his movies, together.
You mean this is in reference to Denis Villeneuve and not Dune specifically, or what do you say?
Yeah, well, just the director's influence, or I guess, what am I trying to say? He's very interested in movies as dreams, from the movies I've seen. I don't know if he's ever said this before, but like, it's interesting he starts this movie with just a statement about dreams. Because
that's true. Like when you look at what was the movie with the spiders?
It starts with an A, right?
It's Enemies. Yeah, Enemies. Yeah. And because that was a trippy movie, and Arrival definitely.
Oh, that Arrival is what I'm thinking of. Yes, very. Which is interesting because the whole plot of this of the story has a lot to do with dreams, but kind of has a lot to do with hallucinogenically induced dreams specifically.
Because it's well, then again, yeah, Paul had his visions and the spice amplified.
Exactly, it's almost like he was like some sort of empath, and then the exposure to this drug, turns him into. First, it really messes with him in the movie, and I think this version is a really good idea, really good rendition of showing the trauma that having thoughts like that as a young kid can do to somebody, or anybody probably at any age.
Yeah.
So dreams, a message from the deep. So message. It's the message is the power. It's the visions. It's the dreams that the main character has, and from the deep is the subconscious, because most of the time the power you have, if you have power, it's within you deep, it's sleeping, it doesn't come to the subconscious yet, but you will still get in your visions, in your dreams, the feeling of the power you might have. So that's what it was. Every single time he was having a dream and throughout the movie, it was his subconscious telling him the future. So because he's supposed to have the power to see the future, present, and past at
exactly.
the same time.
And eventually in the rest of the series, Paul, that ability increases to the point that I don't want to ruin it for anybody, but they probably won't get this far into it. At some point, he gets his eyes like taken out by somebody, but he doesn't need him because like he's so smart and intuitive that he knows what's going to happen.
Like in the follow-up books.
Yeah, I think it's the book after Children of Dune. Maybe he's a lot older.
Yeah.
But the dreams are messages from the deep. In the context of the movie, I felt that you know how the worms live deep into the sand, and they the spice is the byproduct of their. It's kind of like their poop.
Yeah.
The drug is what induces these dreams. So like the dreams of the sand people are kind of like coming from these worms in the deep.
Well, in his case, it amplifies his dreams. But the problem is that this shot here is from one of his dreams, and that never happened.
There's a lot of stuff in his dreams that never, but they're not dreams though.
It's a
possibility. He's kind of like doing, you know, at the end of, when Doctor Strange does that thing and he looks into the future and he sees all the possibilities in Endgame. Remember that part of the movie? Yeah, that's kind of what Paul Atreides' like super gift is because he can
possible
futures, you know,
seeing alternate dimensions, all the possibilities that can possibly happen.
Yeah, because clearly he kills.
Well, he kills this guy. Yeah. But he sees a vision of him
as a friend and a mentor and an educator.
Yeah, which could have happened in
an ally.
In a different.
Jamis.
Yeah.
That's the guy's name. Okay. Okay. So now this is. Did you guys get that? Like, this is the very opening shot when things started to move. Did you guys get that this thing here and like because that was one of the machines, one of the harvesters, and this was a Harkonnen soldier guarding it.
Uh-huh.
And did you guys get that? And that these machines here, those are the same as those.
Right.
Did you guys got all that? Because I didn't.
I mean that's what's going on. They're harvesting. That's because the Harkonnens are in charge of the planet.
So you got all that when you saw it.
I knew that was a Harkonnen because I've read the book before. I knew what was going on, and I knew they were doing stuff on the planet.
That's my point, though, because I do like the exposition, and it's done in a decent enough.
Oh, right. If you haven't read the book, you don't know what the fuck's going on. Right? Did you know what was going on here, Mario? Did you recognize these machines later on?
Yeah.
No, I didn't.
It's
but
too much, but it looks great.
It looks. That's one of the better looking shots in the movie.
That's beautiful stuff.
But it got the message across.
As far as the being downtrodden.
Yes, and the mystery was part of the fun.
Okay.
Okay. And the visual.
It is part of the fun of reading the book too. Is like what the fuck's going on and figuring it out. You know.
Yeah, well, that's the thing with the book, though. The author can go on and on about what's going on in people's minds and all that stuff. So when you're condensing that into a movie, then you're working.
Well, yeah. Well, it was a lot easier for David Lynch just to have the voiceover because if David Lynch had made this movie, it'd be the princess narrating and the Harkonnens left the planet with their machines or whatever. You know, they would have. Although that does happen in this movie a few times where they kind of just like it's almost like the cliff notes of the first part of Dune in a weird way. Because even it seems like the David Lynch movie goes into more depth.
Yeah. Well, in here, this I appreciated, which was when he's looking at this was clearly an exposition tool for the audience. So it's telling you the importance of the spice and all that kind of stuff.
He's doing like research on space YouTube.
Yes, and once he gets to Arrakis, he continues to watch this quote unquote 3D video, whatever you want to call it. So. That's a great tool for the audience, but again, as well as it is done, it is a lot of information to give to the audience. Because for one of the things that is mentioned is that the Fremen refer to the sandworms as Shaolud, and who's gonna remember that? So yeah, it's again like 2049. It's a movie that appeals mostly to cult people, unfortunately, and people who have read the books, Yeah,
and those are the only people who are going to like it. I mean, I really thought it was interesting that they decided to make if you show the spaceships, their intergalactic spaceships.
Highlighters is what they were called, apparently.
They look exactly like the way the sandworms look in this movie, which I thought was kind of interesting.
Well, the book describes the highliner as circular, which is interesting because in this movie here, the circular ships are for the convoy that came down to tell Leto that the Emperor wants him to go to Arrakis, and also the Bene Gesserit ship is also circular. you know. But in the book, the circular items are the highlighters, so that's kind of a minor.
Well, there's a lot of weird changes for the book. Like, for instance, I think the first person Paul kills is actually the Harkonnens that are taking him out into the desert. And it's kind of a big deal in the book, but they change it to the first person he kills is the guy at the end of the movie.
Yeah.
Which, you know, I guess if you're ending the movie, that's...
In this movie, it does make sense because...
Well, the way they're doing it like this...
It's like, what's he doing? He's playing with this guy? You know, and it's like, Paul's never killed anybody.
Yeah, I mean, it kind of makes least sense, though.
It makes sense, though.
That, I don't know. But...
yeah, because there's, if I'm correct, there are a lot of events from the time that they're basically leave the castle on Arrakis after the Harkonnen invasion to them meeting the Fremen and teaming up with them. There's a lot more going on.
Oh, there's a shitload. Yeah. I mean, there's so much character development that gets lost because they do, even though this movie's really long, they skip a lot of things. They skip a lot of stuff. Like, one of the things I really disliked about the movie, like, Lady Jessica is one of my favorite science fiction characters, and they kind of turned her into, like, a sniveling kind of little... Like, I don't know, she's just not as...
crying.
She cries in almost every other scene. I mean, like, the Lady Jessica in, like, both other Dune versions, and in the book, too, is right out of the gate a badass, and she just gets even more badass throughout the course of the movie, you know?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, they cut out the Duncan having suspicions that she's a traitor.
Yeah, I mean, that's one of the best parts of the movie, or parts of the story, because she's like, dude, if I wanted to kill you guys would have been dead. And and then she does something to, like, show how badass she is, and Duncan's like, oh yeah, okay, I'll back off, whatever.
Well, no, what I'm following is the 12 videos by Comic Book Girl 19, who really came off as a specialist with Dune. But even after Jessica logically makes a point that she couldn't be the traitor, because when they had this conversation, he was drunk and everything. Even after making her strong logical point, he still was not completely convinced. You know, so
Jessica in the movies, she was portrayed as a mom, as a frightened mom looking out for her cub, rather than a full-rounded character. So that's what I saw.
Well, there is kind of like that weird, because it's sort of like, because she goes from being like, I mean, you know, she's cool, but like being kind of a sniveling kind of like mom, like Mario saying, to all of a sudden she's like this badass, like at the end of the movie, and it kind of comes out of nowhere in the tonatically in the movie. You know what I mean?
Well, I think
because we never see her do anything like that before.
Well,
you know?
The first time she was crying was when Paul was being tested, and that's acceptable because it's an acceptable reaction, because if you fail the test, then we're gonna kill him right there, you know. And my mind went to, what would Leto do if he found out they killed his son? You know, he would go insane, you know.
Yeah, but he's not like a Jedi. I mean, she's like a trained order of the Bene Gesserit.
Yeah,
she's supposed to be in control of her feelings.
I'm not saying that Leto will be any threat to them,
right?
But he still will be insanely furious. You know?
Right. No, of course he get mad.
Yeah. Now, I don't necessarily see her as being too weak, especially when she was about to take, because when she's interviewing that servant, you know, and she's doing hand signals to the guard saying, you know, prepare yourself, there might be violence here. And then she says to the woman, it's like, I know you got a knife, and believe me, you ain't gonna do anything with it. So that certainly showed a lot of strength.
So the crying happened during the escape, when they were hiding from when they were waiting the sandstorm out, and she was grieving. And she was grieving
We're going through a tunnel.
Yeah. She was grieving her husband's death, the realization of it.
Okay.
That was the other time where she was crying. After that, she...
Oh, no. There was another time that when she was walking through a hallway, she was crying.
Wait, did she start crying when they were in the tent, too?
No, that's when...
Oh, is that the same part?
There's a scene before that. There's a scene...
I mean, so she cries through the whole movie. This is what I'm talking about. Like every scene she's in.
No,
she skins her knee at some point. She starts crying.
Yeah. There's a scene where Paul is being tested. There's a scene where they found out Leto's dead, but there's another scene where she's crying too, and it's all behind closed doors and all this stuff, you know. I'm gonna have to watch again to see when that was and what initiated that, you know. But okay, so let's see. Okay, I mentioned the exposition. I'm glad that Zendaya was in there only for a short time because I'm sorry, I'm not too fond of her. I didn't like her in Spider-Man. And like I said, her delivery, her vocal delivery was flat. You know,
I think she's great, but it is kind of funny. She's like in all the advertisement, and she's like only really in the story for like 5 seconds. You know?
Yeah. So,
but it's hilarious. I look forward to seeing I think she was great in Spider-Man. I think she was good in this movie. She's actually one of the. I mean, say what you will about this movie. The casting, spot on. You know, everybody they got in this movie is so good. Well, except like I said, I have a problem with Lady Jessica.
When Javier Bardem, Stilgar first met Leto, that whole scene was beautiful. It was fantastic. You know, with the spitting and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I wanted to see more spitting, and there was more spitting. You know, we're looking at some of the transport vehicles. It's kind of funny. It reminded me of the vehicles that the Jawas use in Star Wars, and it's kind of Star Wars obviously is a ripoff of Dune. You know. So I like this fact that Dune is maybe starting to rip off Star Wars a little bit.
I'd like to think that it was inspired by. I don't know if it's.
Rip off might not be a good word, but I mean, come on, it looks like the thing. It looks like the Sandcrawlers from Star Wars, right? When it's first coming out, there's a couple of shots where they look exactly like it.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe I'll find the other ones because once there we go.
Kind of that one in the background, in the center. No. I mean, from that perspective, it looks just like a sandcrawler.
Yeah, that's true. Without the wheels, that's true. But because of the fact that it's such a simplistic, angular design, then I think it's just coincidence that.
I mean, it could look like anything.
Exactly.
Yeah, how do you feel about the, they're in those little bug machines flying around? Do you like those?
They
look like
ornithopters?
Is that what they're called? Yeah, they look like butterfly or dragonflies.
I like them a lot. I'm a little, and this is a minor gripe. It seems improbable that a machine could flap wings as fast as a dragonfly.
Oh, that's the one thing you don't believe about this movie. It's like there's no way those wings can flap. I'm just kidding. Do you know what? Okay, speaking of gripes, I do have with this movie. You know that one part where they split up. Paul and his mom split up with the doctor lady, and she's like, that thing. It only has 2 seats. It's only a 2-seater, and then she gets stabbed. You know?
Yes.
I mean, she could have just sat in somebody's lap. I mean, how hard is it to squeeze one more person into one of those things?
Very hard.
Come on. I mean, like, for instance, like, it can't be much bigger than this, me and Mario sitting next to each other. If it was a matter of life and death, Pascal, you could sit on our lap for 20 minutes. We could have saved your life, you know? Okay,
as you say, it's a minor gripe.
Minor gripe.
It's funny how the future sees itself 100% replicating what nature does naturally to preserve energy, usage of technology, just being very simplistic, and while relying on nature to lay the groundworks and the plans of how the mechanism works.
Yeah.
It seems that technology will always drive itself to be organic to the point where it is organic, where it can self-replicate, self-grow, expand, fix itself. So you don't. It's almost like a tree that, or seeds that keep on giving. Life keeps getting replicated. It seems like technology is always trying to become an organism in the very end.
Well, I will say though, because I mentioned earlier that I wasn't exactly mesmerizing. Like there wasn't a point where I was completely sold on it. But I guess that's inaccurate because when I saw the whole convoy that came down to announce the Emperor's desire for Leto to go to this whole convoy, that was beautiful.
Oh yeah?
Especially the helmet.
Yeah, I don't remember this part in the book at all. I don't know why it's in the movie.
Oh yeah, that's right. You know,
it's like this. Like the movie's long enough. Why'd they add this extra stuff? Like, are we ever going to see these characters again? Maybe.
Nope.
But probably not. Yeah.
Because they have helmets on that are.
I mean, these are cool looking helmets.
Yeah. Because they're so random in nature and there's so many of them, there's no way we can expect the audience to remember them. So there's just too much variation, even though it's very narrowed down and stylized to a specific degree.
their guard looks like they're straight out of the Death Star. There's a thing regarding.
It's very Gestapo-ish.
Yeah.
And the Catholic Church. Priests.
That's why this reminds me of Riddick a little bit, because like Riddick had that like mix of kind of like weird religious sci-fi, vague religious sci-fi stuff.
Yeah, well, I do agree with Mario that like that's one of the things I didn't want to discuss. The guy looks like a priest, basically, like but as far as Chronicles of Riddick, it is different in that because it was very ornate and the giant statues and all.
Oh yeah.
And that's definitely one of the more really eye-popping, amazing things about Chronicles of Riddick is the artistic vision, and it was beautiful. It's I think I like the movie a lot more than it deserves. But.
With the Chronicles of Riddick movies?
Yeah, I like it a lot, but it's another one of those movies with a problem of describing things to the audience. It was just kind of...
Yeah, well, it's a confused movie. I mean, it looked cool looking movie.
Right, yeah.
But, I do, watching this movie, I kept expecting to see, what's-his-face running around in the background somewhere, Riddick. What's his name?
Wait, what now?
Who's the guy who plays the Riddick guy? Big guy, yeah.
He's the guy that did the voice of Groot.
Yeah, Groot.
I'll put it in the movie. I mean, and once
I'd like to see a Where's Waldo cut where somebody digitally added him somewhere in the background of this Dune movie, and it'd be a game.
What, Riddick?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
It's kind of funny how the messengers of the Emperor is priesthood, because it's almost like the voice of God, the voice of the Emperor. You send priest-like figures to deliver messages and sign contracts and make things into law, ordain them through God.
Well, indeed, one of the sort of critiques that Dune ultimately gets to is that like Messiah-like figures are really toxic and dangerous.
Yeah, and I don't know much at all about what happens after.
Eventually Paul Atreides turns into a worm.
Well, from what I know, a little bit of what happens after the first book. I guess Paul is not really that great of a guy, and he does transform into a weird creature.
Yeah, no, maybe it's his son that turns into a worm, because his son takes over the main plot, who's named Leto too, Leto the Second. But one of the things that's cool about this movie that the first time we see when the sandworms in front of Paul, it's about to eat him or something, and it's like straight out of the cover of that book I'm thinking of where. Leto the Second turns into a worm. The actual novel version, if you can find it and put it side by side to that, I'm pretty sure they look exactly the same. The paperback novel of Dune, maybe Children of Dune.
What the creature he turns into?
No. Specifically the scene in this Dune movie where Paul's confronted by the sandworm at night and looks like it's about to eat him. It looks like the cover of, I think, Children of Dune. That one, yeah. I'm pretty sure if you put them side by side, or one of the Dune books, I can't remember.
Oh, okay, I see what you mean.
It's definitely the whole the mise en scène, as you would say, is exactly what the cover
I think that may just be a coincidence, only because this is an event in the book, and that's just.
Well, that's what the cover was supposed to represent too.
Yeah. Okay. So my next point was this here. Since computers have been outlawed, some human beings are the ones that do heavy calculations. Did you guys get that that's what was happening when their eyes were like
Yeah.
Did you get that?
Not until later on in the movie when they're having a council meeting and his eyes flicker back in the...
You thought he was just like rolling his eyes at what the Emperor was saying?
No, that's when I realized like there's something going on that's beyond just natural. It's something biological, advanced.
Okay.
It's prosthetic or something, an upgrade, because that's not natural bodily reaction.
Yeah, because I think Peter de Vries does that too here when Bautista's character, this is when he comes in to start screaming about how the Emperor took away Arrakis from them and stuff like that. So yeah, because he once he comes in, his eyes go back to normal and stuff. But I don't know what calculations he would be doing, but whatever. I did like Jason Momoa's character. I believe that's Duncan, and
Yeah, they added him a lot.
And he's another one of those guys, kind of like Tom Cruise, where he seems to be playing the same guy all of the time. But in this case, as far as Jason Momoa in general, like, because it works for the Aquaman, it worked in that kind of character worked for him in that, and it worked when he was on Stargate Atlantis. And it kind of certainly worked when he was on Game of Thrones. It was just this kind of rough kind of guy, although there was no comedy in Game of Thrones whatsoever, you know. But he was kind of the comedic release a little bit in there. Another point, I did like the closeness between Paul and his father. The way their relationship was portrayed, I thought was realistic, and I bought it. I thought it was well acted and well produced. Okay, so now there was a scene where Leto asks Jessica, you know, if it comes to it, will you protect our son? And she says, with my life. And then he says, I'm not asking you as his mother. I'm asking you as a Bene Gesserit. And she doesn't answer at all. She basically says, this is not you, as if the words that he was saying were out of character, you know. And to me, it seems like, okay, so that's it. To me, it seems like, maybe I'm overthinking it, but I thought that because she doesn't answer, she's trapped between her dedication to Leto and Paul, and then what the Bene Gesserit would want.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
And it manifests itself when she has to guard the door, and she pretty much gives her son up to be judged, knowing that he will be killed if he fails.
Yeah.
Her emotional outburst was sincere, and it was very strong because she knew there's nothing she can do. If she disobeys and doesn't present her son, then everybody gets killed.
Yeah.
She dies for betrayal. Her son dies for failing the test. So it's out of her power as a Jesuit. Yeah, she will kill her son if she has to, if she's given the order to.
Yeah. So, okay, so my next point was but I got the sense from, and maybe the Dune, the David Lynch movie was more accurate, and from what I remember from what Comic Book Girl 19 was discussing, Dr. Yui's part in the original story seemed to be a lot more we got in the movie.
Oh, for sure, yeah.
Very limited in here.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of the things that kind of changed. I mean, you're like, who is it? I mean, I knew who he was because I recognized the little thing on his forehead.
Yeah.
And I recognized the character from the David Lynch version. But like, I'm sure if you'd watched this movie the first time, you're like, who is this guy?
Yeah, and also, to make matters worse, he's got an accent. So some of the stuff he was saying was not clear, especially in this scene here when he just told Leto that, I just betrayed House Atreides, and the whole thing with the tooth and all that stuff. I'm afraid that if I didn't know anything about the story, like some of the stuff he said here would have been unclear as far as here's the tooth with the poison, you gotta bite it. I mean, how did that hit you, Mario, this whole thing? Did you understand everything that he was saying about his
Yes, it was in real-time computation, trying to figure out, putting all the pieces together from all the information that was and is presented. So yeah, it was a constant battle to
understand all this stuff. Yeah,
pretty much being a detective and just putting the clues together as they come along to you, putting the piece together. So it takes a lot of focus, a lot of you can easily get confused if you're not paying close enough attention, or you just miss a line.
Yeah, and also once they come down to Arrakis, and after the battle is over, he tells Vladimir, I disabled the shield. First of all, when these things were coming down, clearly this was to show that the shield had just been deactivated. Did you get the sense that that's what it was happening? because you hear
Probably not.
Yeah, exactly.
I might have missed it.
That, and then the concept of the Doctor completely taking over a I don't know, a dozen people who are maintaining the shield. Like he's supposed to be able to do that all by himself. That seemed to be a little hard to believe to me.
It was.
Yeah,
For a doctor to, unless he was trained and taught by the competition, the rivals.
The Harkonnens.
The Harkonnens, unless he was well educated, well trained how to do all that.
Yeah, they pronounce Harkonnen a little weird in this movie.
Harkonnen.
Is it Harkonnen?
Yeah, I didn't.
So which one's the right one? I mean, I'm going to keep saying Harkonnen because that's easier.
I think Harkonnen is correct, so I don't know that. That's another.
I did like the version they had of the Baron in this movie. I thought it was hilarious.
Oh yeah, Stellan Skarsgård.
He kind of reminds me of Colonel Kurtz in Marlon Brando in Apocalypse Now. He's just like this bald, fat guy, just like overly kind of like dramatic about everything. But he's one of my favorite parts of all the versions of Dune. The guy, whoever they get to cast him, is always a character.
Yes, and then back to the Doctor. In the book, as well as the as far as the Lynch version of the movie, his death is more meaningful. And here it's quick.
Yeah, it's pretty quick.
In the book, he says, first off, Peter de Vries kills him, and the setting's the same. Leto is practically, he can't move. He's paralyzed. And in the Lynch movie, he stabs him from behind. But so before he dies, he says, "You think you've defeated me?" And in the book, the regaining of Arrakis by the Harkonnen is supposed to be a major win for the Vladimir, and one of the things that kills that is the fact that the Doctor says this, and Vladimir becomes paranoid. He's like, okay, he just said, "You think you defeated me?" So it makes him think he probably set some stuff in motion. And so now he's worried, and there were other things too, like the ring was supposed to be something he really wanted. They didn't put that in the movie, and of course, Paul and his mom have escaped, so he doesn't have them. So they don't really. That's probably something they probably should have put in here too. How
something, yeah,
it would have been really valuable if he had the entire family. But whatever. So
or like right before he died, what if he said, "You're doomed"?
So, that he might as well have said that according to the book, the way they described it. Yeah. So okay, Dave Bautista was pretty cool with his kind of babyish face, I guess is what you could call it. Although all the Harkonnens are bald, but
yeah, that's kind of funny because like in the David Lynch version, they're all redheads.
Oh, they are. Yeah, that's right.
You know what the Harkonnens look like to me in this movie? They look like the engineers in the Aliens movie.
Very gray, very lifeless and pale.
They even got that weird forehead thing.
Yeah.
All of them have that weird forehead thing.
Well, it probably a little more. Well, it's kind of a mix because there are Harkonnens who are bald here. I don't get the sense that if you took off their clothing, they all would be ripped. The Sardaukar.
I hadn't thought about that. What do they look like underneath?
The Sardaukar would definitely be ripped, But
I mean, even their outfits though, like that kind of looks like what the engineers are wearing. I mean, I mean, of course, it's like Geiger's not doing.
It was more organic.
Yeah.
Militaries.
For sure, absolutely.
I was turned off by Batista's overacting, being way too emotional, way too dramatic.
You think so?
It was great for the movie, but like personally, I was a little turned off by it. Like a little too overacting. It's kind of, we don't have enough reason to know why or care why he's so emotional. He might be, he's just being petty.
Okay, so that kind of came out of nowhere.
Yeah, so we didn't have a reason to believe his emotional outburst.
Well, this is good that you're here because you're representing the unknown viewer,
yes,
if I could call you that, because that's probably why I missed the melodramatic reaction that he had, because because I know what's going on in his mind because I'm familiar with the book and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, he seems like a character with a lot of past, a lot of grudge, possibly, but because there was no clues, no character development, even hinting why he's so emotionally pissed off. That's why it seemed like overacting, because we weren't. There was nothing to feed us the reason why he's so melodramatic.
It does help that he does say, why did they give him Arrakis, and then you do find out later on how much money they were making, so that is good. But
Dune bucks, I think is what they call it.
I forgot what Two Fear called it.
Yeah.
And it's a little like a little gripe I have with other movies. Is a lot of movies like Total Recall, they refer to money as credits, and I always find it a dumb name. I'm like, why don't you just give me a number, But this is so far into the future that you're 10,000.
Yeah.
I forgot the name of the currency, but
they have some weird name like everything else in this movie.
Yeah, so but it's acceptable.
Name. I like in Shadowrun they called money new yen, like how Japanese is yen and this is the new yen.
Yeah, well, it's funny because I'm watching Squid Game, and won, I think, is the name of the currency in Korea. And when I first saw that, I'm like, I thought somebody screwed up with the subtitling. I'm like, what's one? I'm like,
one what?
Yeah, exactly.
How many?
Okay,
that's funny. No, yeah, maybe if they gave this guy the Drax your Dune line, or how about this? What if he said in the movie at some point when he killed somebody, "You just got Duned, motherfucker."
Okay, so some facts about the Vladimir suit and some of the problems Stellan Skarsgård had. I'm sure you could guess that this was no fun for the actor.
Yeah, well, this part specifically reminded me of Apocalypse Now, because there's that one part in Apocalypse Now where Martin Sheen comes out of the water, but he looks just like Marlon Brando does in that movie with the shaved head and the weight and being kind of topless and stuff.
Yeah, and I guess I should have guessed this, but and maybe Mario, you caught it, maybe not. That this disgusting tar bath is to clear up the poison from the crack tooth. Did you pick that up?
Yeah, they kind of gave away subtle visual hints that this is medicine. Like it was in the vials, and it was getting inspected in small batches, and then him being inside the same liquid, being completely submerged underwater, because just like in Dragon Ball Z or any other futuristic movie, if you're submerged by a liquid, then it's healing you just like a pressure...
Empire Strikes Back?
Yeah, just like a pressure cooker would cook its ingredients in in like a sphere, 360-degree sphere, three-dimensional sphere. Same thing with the liquid, healing you from all dimensions.
Okay, cool. The fat suit for Vladimir, 7 months to design.
Wow.
Makeup artist is Donald Mowat, and it took 5 hours of makeup for Stellan to become the Baron with his clothes on. But when he's naked, 6.5 hours to put him in that suit.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and then you can barely tell, too, which is kind of funny, Yeah. So.
The steaming part. The steaming part was very interesting because
of what?
You didn't know if it was just for visuals or if it was for rich people being in steam baths, or you didn't really get the impression like which way is this going. But you do know it's very. Taking steam baths is affiliated with being wealthy, with being rich, being in charge.
And being fat. I see a lot of fat
and
people
being fat, yeah. It kind of hits a lot of tropes.
Being white. Fat.
Being rich and gluttonous.
I think I'm gonna go with gluttonous, considering the.
Well, that's that's his thing about it. I like how when Duke Leto is dying, he's commenting on how good his food supplies are. He's like, "Man, this is delicious."
Oh yeah.
It's hilarious. It's like one of my favorite parts of the movie.
And that table. That table's like a mile long.
That whole scene was pretty funny. Yeah. And I like how he uses his floaty his floaty device to hide at the top of the room to get out of it in this version. That's pretty cool.
That was and that actually, I'm trying to remember how that was done. I do recall how that was done in the David Lynch movie, because he was just
he's farther back, because the Duke was hallucinating. He thought the
hold on. What I'm saying is, I do recall that Leto had an hallucination, and he thought he was looking at Vladimir.
Right, and
but the only reason Peter de Vries is the only one that got hit was because of distance. But the cool thing in here is it took over.
It killed everybody in the room.
They introduced the fact that Vladimir had his own shield, which was great, because that is not from the book. That was very creative.
Yeah, I don't remember that at all in the book, I don't remember him wearing a shield at all in the David Lynch movie. Yeah,
no, and so that was a great.
He probably could have used it at the end of the movie.
That was a great. That was a great change from the book to this new adaptation. It was kind of cool.
Yeah, he seems a little bit more sinister and less crazy in this version.
Yeah, and I like the spine lights coming on when he starts anti-gravitating, floating against the laws of gravity, which was kind of cool. Let's see.
I do wish he was a redhead.
Yeah. Oh no, thanks. The scenery, the Harkonnen scenery in the David Lynch movie is disgusting. The green kills me.
Yeah.
Apparently, one rumor is that the reason why his skin was so disgusting is because at the time AIDS was becoming an issue and it was associated with being gay, and Vladimir has sex.
Who's a pedophile?
Yes, with his nephew.
Well, generally, he's just a pedophile.
Yeah, and so this is a rumor. They're saying that they associated gay AIDS with him being sick, and so all that.
No, I remember that's in the book too, where he has like really bad skin. It's basically like really bad acne.
Okay, but
they're like popping his zits.
This is just one rumor, and when he rips out the heart pump.
Yeah, the heart plug.
I don't think that's from the book.
Yeah, I think that is in the book. Yeah,
Okay, right.
I'm pretty sure.
I'm not sure.
Which we haven't seen it in this rendition yet. Maybe we'll see the heart pump in part 2, or the heart plug.
I guarantee you they're not going to bring that.
Come on.
So advanced sexual diseases.
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, I mean, I think that his skin is caused by some sort of VD, though, so it might be in the space of the book.
Okay.
It's
I'm
valid.
I'm going to put up because the person that discussed that was YouTuber Oliver Harper. So
I know Oliver Harper. Yeah.
So his review on Dune is pretty spot on too.
I think I watched it.
One of the main problems that people had with Dune was The Empire Strikes Back. Return of the Jedi had came out at the kind of same time, and the special effects in that were amazing. So
David Lynch was supposed to. They wanted him.
When they compared that to what was going on with the David Lynch Dune, there was like special effects are shit in here, basically. Like so. But sometimes it's good and sometimes it's really bad. And so, that's what Oliver Harper was saying, and you could tell.
Yeah, no, I like Oliver Harper. He says some good stuff sometimes.
Yeah, but okay, so now I listened to the Hans Zimmer score by itself before I got a chance, because that was released
before the movie, huh?
It was released on YouTube way before the movie.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So I listened to the whole thing, and it did not grab me at all. It works fantastic with the movie, but unlike Man of Steel, unlike Interstellar, unlike I actually like Batman vs Superman. I did like that, and Blade Runner. I could listen to those by themselves, but the score for Dune 2021 I can't listen to by itself.
So the soundtrack in the movie, I haven't heard the actual soundtrack on YouTube, but I imagine that from how I saw it, it seemed like you just have to have a really great sound system, and it has to be blasting to hear all the subtle intricacies, all the layers. It's got to be in high definition, because you never know. The soundtrack version, the audio might have been compressed, so you lose a lot of small intricacies that you pick up in the movie theater.
Well, for myself, I think because the same system that I'm using, that I use to listen to that soundtrack, is the same one I listen to the other scores I mentioned, and I could tell the difference and stuff, with the earphones and all that stuff. So It is great. It's just that I need to watch it with the movie. I can't do it
In
by itself.
context, it works great. By itself, it's not
It's
iconic
not very-
enough.
I mean,
It's
even
not
the
memorable.
Blade Runner soundtrack has parts where you don't know if it's an engine you're listening to,
Yeah.
if it's music, and
Yeah.
in spite of that, it's still fantastic.
Yeah.
So okay, so yeah,
One of the things I did like about the soundtrack is there was a callback to the Toto soundtrack
Yeah.
earlier on in the movie
I
with the
don't-
electric
I don't-
guitar and the
Okay.
synthesizer, which was pretty funny. Well, one thing I didn't kind of like about the soundtrack though is like kind of when they start introducing the Freeman people, it becomes very like Middle Eastern, like typical post 9/11 kind of like.
that's definitely my next point.
Okay, yes.
The first thing I'm going to say is
Uh-huh.
that Mr. H, that's the YouTuber. The guy,
I know Mr. H.
the guy said the scores is garbage.
Oh, okay.
However, Midnight's Edge were a lot more accurate, and they said exactly what I just said, which is that it works well with the movie, but by itself it's not that great. And they even went ahead and called some of it industrial because of all the noises and everything. But yeah, now you mentioned, because clearly, to me, there seemed to be some reference to the Middle Eastern, I don't know, influence, if you call it.
Well, the book is highly influenced by.
There's the word jihad, which they didn't put in the movie for obvious reasons.
Oh, they didn't.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, yeah, you don't hear that word in the movie.
Well, I
Yeah.
guess I wasn't looking for it.
It's almost like desert life is universal, so they just decided to just transfer over existing traditions, whether it be wearing extra garbs to cover all your limbs and faces.
I mean, you kind of have to wear that stuff in the desert. You know?
Exactly. Protect
Yeah,
yourself from
but
the
I mean,
heat
but
and the sun.
Shot like this, I mean, that seemed to me that's very Middle Eastern. At least
It is.
At least to me, and the garb that the I don't know what to call him. The guy that was watering the palm trees. I mean, what he was wearing absolutely really screamed to me to be of Middle Eastern descent. Yeah, that does, is wearing sandals and everything. Okay, cool.
That's a cool hat, though.
And also, especially the something that is very telling in that respect is the veil and the jewelry Jessica's wearing when they stepped off the spaceships onto Arrakis. She definitely looked like she had a Middle Eastern outfit. Like I said, the jewelry that she was wearing.
Okay, I
that's
understand. The
very-
face jewelry is very Middle Eastern, more than European. It's also priestess. It reminds you of
Something religious?
high priestess where the wealth is part of the church,
Okay.
especially for the higher ups. So it seems very traditional, like ceremony. It's ceremonial, and it is a ceremony because they're arriving to a new planet, and it's almost a religious experience, especially for the people outside, believing that their Messiah has come. So, and she's also a Messiah herself.
Well, she's sort of
born
like the
the
Virgin
son.
Mary
Yeah.
to Paul, and I think that's the appropriate, like even like sort of like because she's technically the consort, not the queen. So it might be something that you might have a harem girl wear, which is kind of what she is.
Okay, so the next point is, I really hate to bring this up because I like the movie as much as I do, but the colors were not very saturated unless they were in the visions, like when he had visions like this stuff. They're very saturated here.
Yeah.
But for the rest of the movie, it's that's in a vision. It's drab. It's very and you look at so here that makes sense because anytime anything penetrated the shield slowly, you got red.
Yeah.
And this was the gas coming to his face. But for the most part, it's very lacking in saturation.
It's almost oppressive. It's very industrial, highly industrial. Like there's nothing more industrial than big open spaces, very few characters on the screen, and just everything is sanitized and also layered with mist. So it feels empty, but it's also mysterious at the same time. It's very alien-like, industrial, very cold.
Yeah.
Reality is very cold, until you get out to the desert.
Yeah.
That's when things are very vibrant and open because you're in the light. You're living amongst the light and a whole new power rather than a very cold, controlling, mechanical-like organism
Yeah.
that just consumes and controls.
Yeah.
And there's no room for emotions.
Yeah. That's true.
It's cold.
And I screwed up again. Damn it! I cannot recall the word they were chanting in reference to Paul. You know, and that's important. This story, and of course I forgot it. You know, so
That is.
I'll just
Yeah.
I'll put it up during the rendering, I guess.
Even from my end, hearing it, when I heard it and it being mentioned, it being explained to the audience, I knew and everybody knew, like, yeah, we're not gonna remember that word. Especially because it's not in our native tongue. We're not familiar with the dialect, so expecting the general American public that
really.
yeah.
They should just be chanting Dune for the American. We need the American cut where they just chant Dune whenever we don't understand.
It's Paul Muad'Dib.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So that's something that I know that.
Is that what they're chanting? Because Paul Muad'Dib, that's the name of the.
Muad'Dib is what they call it. Yeah.
Muad'Dib's the name of the little mouse they
Yes.
see. And it's also what they end up calling Paul at when he becomes Paul. But it's also the name of the other moon, I think, the smaller moon because there's two moons in Dune.
Oh, no kidding.
Mm-hmm.
I'll look that up. Yeah. Okay. Because there are two moons and one is scarred.
Right. Yeah.
Okay, cool. Let's see here. I don't know why they put this in the movie, but the creature that the Bene Gesserit orders out of the room when she's meeting with Vladimir, the spider that was eating.
Yeah.
I don't know why they did that.
I forgot about that. Do you have a steal for that? What's that?
Yeah, I'm looking for it.
It was very disturbing seeing it, and I was trying to figure out as well. I was trying to play detective and figure out the meanings of it, and it could have been used as a spy device, not intentionally, but using powers or technology to take out the information.
It can't be a robot, right?
No, it's an animal, and it's not convincing. It might as well have been done by Jim Henson.
It's pretty scary looking.
Yes, it is gross looking. Yeah,
it's very nightmare-like.
But the fact that it left when she told him to leave, I thought that was kind of cute. You know?
Yeah.
You know, it's like
one of those things seems pretty handy. It's got like little hands and we do a lot of stuff.
It's almost like the spider head from the movie The Thing when it. So you want to take a blowtorch so it can. Okay, so so now this was not well done, if you ask me. This particular part, which was that, at least in the David Lynch movie, the hunter seeker was just floating around, looking for a target. In this movie, it came right up to his eye and stopped. Now, is it because it hit the hologram that it stopped? Because it stopped right in front of his eye.
It's either he used the voice or used his power. But it seemed like it was the effect of him using his powers to protect him rather than the shield. Because he seemed very in control and not scared because he had.
I don't think those darts work against the shield too, because they when they get up to you, they slow down.
Yes, they do stop and slow down.
I think they're. I gotta keep my head on the microphone. They're designed to slowly make their way in, which is the only way to get through the shield. The good thing about that though is that because it's a slow process, Duncan swiped that one that was fired at him away. But if it's behind you, which is what happened to Leto, then you're screwed. I can't find a logical reason why it came straight. It zoomed straight for his eye. Paul didn't move, and then it just sat there. If it zoomed straight at him, and the servant came in to interrupt that, then that would have made sense. But it stopped, and then she came in. So
it's the weirding way,
he didn't use his voice.
Well, I mean, there's other ways, how they can like slow down their heartbeat and their body temperature and stuff like that.
But it's almost like he used his powers and he knew the future. He knew what it was going to do.
It's almost if the plot would suffer if he died right there.
Yeah, but
I really think it was.
But there was no. To me, I didn't see any evidence that there was anything that he did, whether it's mystical or whatever, or heartbeat or whatever. It just stopped, and it's a plot hole to me. So I don't know.
I look at it as if you're that confident staring something down, then you must have foresight to give you that confidence. I really think it was his subconscious future powers that maybe gave him so much confidence about just being unfazed by the hunter seeker. That was my impression of it.
This is why. Okay, so perfect example. The reason why I was having trouble finding the screenshot is because he's in the middle of the.
Oh well, that's probably why he's using it as camouflage.
I mean, maybe that's that's what. Maybe like hopefully the
what is he standing in?
I'll tell you in a second.
Oh, okay.
When hopefully this will be explained in the Blu-ray with a commentary. I think that the projection interfered.
That's what it was. Yeah, it couldn't tell the difference between the holographic projection and the real holo 3D.
That's the only explanation I have.
Well, maybe Paul's Bene Gesserit training has taught him how to act like a projection convincingly. That's part of the thing.
A major problem for me was because when I'm trying to think of this YouTuber. Quinn's Ideas.
Yeah, I like Quinn. He's cool.
Obviously,
he's a Dune nerd.
Exactly. Obviously, a tremendous fan of Dune. Now, when he described, because he had an earlier screening of it, so when he described how the voice was portrayed in the movie, he said he had trouble describing it because of the cool effect it did. And I liked it a lot too because what it was when Jessica said try the voice, so he tries it, and instead of you see his lips move and you hear a booming sound and then you hear the words, so there's a delay and there's a real strong sound. It's never done like that again. And that's I like that effect, and maybe it was done that way then because he was trying it, but I wish it was like that for the rest of the movie because that is very mystical and sci-fi and everything, and so it was a little bit of a disappointment that they stopped. They didn't do it that way.
I thought the voice kind of sounded like the Wicked Witch of the West a little bit from Wizard of Oz. Like an amplified version.
It's been so long. The only thing I've seen is Return to Oz.
Hopefully
Yes, actually you're right because there was a low pitch and a high pitch at the same time.
It was like two witches talking at the same time.
Yeah. So they may have taken his voice and then superimposed a high-pitched version of his voice at the same time.
They just made him do the Wicked Witch of the West impression, and they added some reverb on top of it.
Hopefully it wasn't a byproduct of a budget and clipping editing for time. Why they got rid of the effect and changed it from that point on.
I can't imagine. No.
Or maybe it was just a mistake editing and the thing was off and they didn't go back and correct it because it looked cool.
I seriously doubt that. I think I mentioned already how I did. Yes, I mentioned I love the scene where Stilgar comes in and spits and has that whole conversation. That was great. And Duncan's attempt to calm everybody because obviously it looks like an insult.
You'd think he'd warn everybody that's a custom before the eating even started, or maybe even before they got to the planet. Yeah. He should have been like, hey, these guys like to spit a lot because water's precious. If anybody spits at you in general,
I mean, they did document them. They have a whole bunch of information on them, but maybe it was just.
You think some of those guys watch those documentaries, not just Paul.
unless they just didn't have recordings of them interacting with each other, showing each other respect.
They were very elusive.
That's like some alien coming to Earth and them not telling them that we shake hands in America. You know what I mean? It's just like, it seems like something you should probably know.
There was a specific thing like that in Star Trek: The Next Generation, because this guy who was supposed to be even more empathic than Deanna Troi, so he was supposed to be going between some people of the Federation and
I remember that episode. Yeah.
Totally got offended and they killed him and stuff like that. And Riker was blaming the guy for it, and it was great. And unfortunately, the guy was completely unstable because he was too empathic.
Yeah, there's a couple episodes like that, because there's one where it's like this crazy guy trying to sleep with Diana. I think both of them. And then there's this one guy who's like, who can't talk, and he has like three herald of three people.
Yeah.
It's kind of the same plot, but I can't remember.
That was rough because they killed all.
They killed all three of them, and he freaks out.
Yeah, that was a very good episode. Actually, yeah. Okay, so minor gripe, but I thought the sandworm attack in David Lynch's Dune was just a little better, because when they consume the harvester, it explodes. And in
that's right.
This new version is just
he just swallows it up.
The Sarlacc pit. Basically.
Yeah. It's an interesting approach, because like the sandworms are more of like a vortex that form. That's more of what gets you than the sandworm eating you. It seems like.
Yeah.
If you're, unless you're gigantic, like this gigantic machine is eating.
But I will say the teeth here are a lot more.
They're interesting,
tremendous.
And they remind me of how whales have their teeth. They're kind of like bristles like that, because they filter all the bacteria.
Yeah.
They don't eat anything big. They just eat like a lot of like little stuff.
Yeah.
And it kind of reminds me of like just a big whale mouth.
Or some sort of underwater creature.
Yeah. More coverage.
So the ending fight scene, it seemed very anticlimactic, because all the stakes were taken away, because he could see the future. So they took away the element of him almost dying, being in serious danger, feeling overpowered, feeling challenged. All that was taken away because he could see what was happening before it happened. Giving him this confidence that he could win, he was in control. And
we all knew he wasn't going to die, because there's a part 2. But do you know what's interesting? I'm kind of curious what they're going to do, because like both the book, the Lynch movie, and the sci-fi movie, they all ended in another knife fight. So is the second part going to end in a second knife fight, which might be awesome, I guess. But like,
well, it certainly has a hell of a lot more, not symbolism, but importance.
It's a really important knife fight. He fights Sting.
Exactly. Yeah.
They don't call him Sting for nothing. You know what I mean? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Shoot, that's another name I should know. Is it? It's David Bautista's character that he fights, right? In this story.
No, it's his brother.
That's right.
The Sting.
And we haven't seen him.
We haven't seen him. He's not in this movie, even though he's introduced earlier in both versions. Because like the character he's playing in the David Lynch version, it's the guy who plays Pluto from Popeye. You know what I mean? That big guy.
Yes.
That's the guy Drax is playing in this movie. And Sting plays his brother, who's just a skinny version of Drax, really. But we'll see who plays him in the. Hopefully they didn't erase his character completely, because he's one of the coolest characters ever. Originally in the Jarodowski version, it was supposed to be played by Mick Jagger. It was funny they got another rock star to play him, Sting.
Yeah, that whole the whole documentary, as far as the enormous effort that Jodorowsky went through to make that movie, and the possible casting. And Salvador Dali's requirements and all that stuff.
It's all hilarious. It's
crazy.
Legend stuff of legends.
Yes, it is.
But Pink Floyd was supposed to do the soundtrack. There's a lot of weird things, because Pink Floyd was supposed to do the soundtrack, then they get Toto, and Mick Jagger was supposed to be Sting, then they get Sting, stuff like that.
Okay.
Yeah, it's right there.
Fried Rotha.
Okay.
Fried Rotha is a character that. We have
hopefully he's a redhead in this.
It is definitely bizarre that they haven't introduced him yet. Even if they introduce him in the second part, I think it's a mistake to not have him not having seen him yet.
I think so too, unless they just couldn't. They're still trying to land some, like they're trying to get somebody really specific, and they they're, maybe they'll have a little bit more leverage after this movie comes out to get like Leonardo DiCaprio or something to play him, or maybe not him. Maybe that kid that's playing Batman now. They'll probably try to get him. You know what I'm talking about from Twilight? They'll probably get the Twilight guy to play him.
The guy's playing Batman.
Yeah, the guy's playing Batman. Yeah.
Robert Pattinson.
Patterson. Yeah. Robert Patterson is Sting. What do you guys think? I'm calling it right now. How much money do you guys want to put down on my bet? I got 5 on it.
I don't have an alternative.
So who knows? Maybe would it be? What do you guys think? Would it be a good idea to have Paul Atreides at the end of part 2 fight Raban instead of Raban is Dave Bautista's character?
Oh no, I don't want to see him. No. That guy dies way before that. He dies. He gets his head caught.
That's true.
Yeah,
that's true.
He's got a great death.
But I mean, as far as changing,
please don't change it, Dune people. Yeah. If you're listening,
that would make sense. Yeah, you do. See, because it's like, I guess because I'm trying to think of how it would feel narratively to introduce Fide in the second part. Even, like, in spite of the fact we haven't seen him yet, I guess transferring from Raban to sense, I guess.
Yeah. I think they're just holding off because they know they're going to get somebody big to play this character, and they don't want to show their card.
I don't want Patterson in there, but then again,
I don't either. I'm just saying it's probably going to be him.
Well, the thing is, Denis Villeneuve is like Christopher Nolan in the respect that you could, for the most part, you could bring in anybody into your cast and they'll generate a good performance out of them. Although I almost sound like a hypocrite when I say that, because some of the times Javier Bardem and Zendaya were flat, So, but because the thing was like, as far as Christopher Nolan, when I went to see Dunkirk, everybody was saying that there's
what if it's the kid from Dunkirk?
Hold on a second. There's a guy in there who's a performer, he's a singer. People were saying, is he going to be good? And I didn't know who the guy was, and I couldn't tell because everybody in the movie was great.
And nobody sung.
Yeah. But anyway, so
how about this for Fide? The kid who's playing Spider-Man right now, Tom Holland.
Absolutely not.
Come on, as the evil top Paul Atreides?
No thanks.
Because that's pretty much who he is, he's like the evil Paul
Atreides. The only thing
and he's a redhead.
The only thing that would make sense with that is the fact that Paul is very tiny, and so having another tiny.
Well, that's the thing, though. If you read the books, he's supposed to be. Lady Jessica was supposed to have that as a kid. He was supposed to marry. That was supposed to be the Kwisatz Haderach.
No, she was supposed to have a girl.
Oh, but right. But he's just like the mirror version, though.
No, that's right. She was supposed to have a girl, and they was supposed to marry her. That guy.
Yeah, right. Yeah, something like that. Yeah. Like that was.
So she completely demolished the
plan.
Right. Been working on for centuries.
Yeah.
But
But he's basically supposed to be the evil Paul Atreides. Is all I'm saying. He's supposed to be the mirror universe. Yeah. So the guy who's playing Spider-Man, kind of, he'd be. No. We dye his hair red, and he's in.
Now I could not find a mentioning of this in the Comic Book Girl 19 narration of the book. Maybe Ernest, you know this. So in the David Lynch version and this version, the sandworm seems to stop in front of Paul when it had a chance to kill him. Mm-hmm. So was there some sort of connection there, especially when it started to making that repeating kind of almost laughing sound?
Yeah, that's a cool part. That's one of the best parts of this movie.
Yeah.
What's going on there?
It does move away, but that's because the thumper.
The thumper, right.
But I think even before it heard it, it stopped in front of.
Yeah. Now, there's this weird Jabba the Hutt laugh.
Is that what was supposed to be?
Or maybe he was sniffing Paul. I mean, what is going on? Yeah. No.
Well, that's it. What is going on? So it's a psychic connection.
I mean, that's one of the mysterious things about this movie.
Because the Fremen see Paul as Muad'Dib because the Bene Gesserit sold them that tradition.
Right, it's planted.
But the sandworm is not affected that.
Right, he doesn't know what's going on.
It could be a mental power.
Yeah.
Being
or
a
just
Messiah.
sensing the Messiah.
That'd be maybe because maybe into their lore, the Messiah lore, he can control these things. They are.
Well, that's part of the story. He's one of the best sand writers ever.
Well, he wasn't one yet, but
eventually in the story.
I suspect they're just telling you there's a connection.
Yeah.
I think that's what it is.
I wouldn't be surprised to see that he would be able to control, communicate, use them as an asset, be in control of them for the future of the franchise.
Yeah.
Or maybe the sandworm just got caught on something, like below the surface, like a really sharp rock.
Yeah. Well, they were heading for the rocks, but
right. I mean,
they're not there yet.
But you don't know what's happening underneath the sand.
No. So.
What I thought about Dune was the visuals were very striking, very iconic. The music added onto the film made it way more dramatic, but it seemed lackluster in how epic it was. The war also was very subdued between the two warring factions. It seemed like a slaughterhouse.
You mean when the Harkonnens came down to retake Arrakis?
Yes.
Okay.
It seemed like they didn't show much because they knew they were just outpowered, outnumbered, out-resourced, going out there without the proper garb. Although the proper war garb is probably not as important as their actual shields that keep them from getting hurt.
I thought the scene was very brutal. Perhaps it could have been longer, but I mean, the for one thing, the different type of mechanism that came down to destroy the Atreides ship looked amazing because they penetrated their shield and then boom. The one ship tried to take off and came back down because it exploded. There's a scene, I didn't take a screenshot of it because it doesn't look that great, but I will probably put it in the final video. There's a scene where there are hardly any lights and the Harkonnen ships are flying with their lights. That looked beautiful. The explosions were very convincing. I did like it. Perhaps it could have been longer, but I was satisfied with it. And unfortunately for the average viewer, I guess this is more of a thinking piece. So the action stuff is added intelligently and not overdone. Yeah. So I don't know. I think it was okay in that respect.
Yeah, because the fight was not about the soldiers and how they're outnumbered and outpowered, but about the dynasty and their survival.
I will say this though: they made a big deal about hiring the Sardaukar, or maybe they were ordered by the Emperor, because the leader says, if he says, well, it was weird because first when Peter de Vries is there on their planet, and I will put the name of the planet in the rendering place because they announced it in the movie. The leader's like, the Harkonnens have enough battalions already. Why do they need us? And then 5 seconds later, he goes, "Well, if the Emperor wants us there, then we're going." I'm like, dude, what happened to your problems with going there? But anyway, so he agrees. And the weird thing is that they do add to the battle sequence, but they don't feel like they're an enormous addition to the Harkonnens. So, but I don't know. I love their suits look pretty cool.
Yeah.
And when Duncan Idaho dies, that whole sequence was kind of cool. Although
it cried just a little bit.
It felt a little like claustrophobic.
Yeah.
Because it was in that hallway.
Yes.
But
one thing I thought that was kind of funny that the director chose to, for his career movies, chose two bombs. Epic bombs from the 80s, that are now regarded as like some of the best things to come out of that decade, because Blade Runner, notoriously bombed,
these,
Dune too,
Those projects are brought to him. He doesn't seek out. And
but it's interesting though, isn't that interesting?
Yeah. Well, it fits studios approaching him with these franchises, it means that they know they have a good artist.
Yeah.
Or they've run out of ideas because they're just rebooting
So
stuff
people
from the 80s.
keep saying that Hollywood is out of ideas.
I'm just kidding.
And,
Yeah,
well,
no, that's
but
what
I mean
said.
that is something that some people say, and I disagree with that. There are a ton of reasons why they're afraid to take a new franchise, a new book or whatever. You know, and although they just did the Foundation TV show, which is a completely new franchise, it seems like the very same people who are invested in Dune are also invested in the Foundation. So it doesn't seem that much of a risk, and the show sucks anyway. You know, so I don't know if you guys seen it, you know. But and then Queen's Ideas, to evidence of that is Queen's Ideas is definitely interested in Dune, and he's all over the Foundation also. And I love the first episode, and then after that, I was out of there. You know, big spoiler. The character played by Jared Harris, who is the guy that I started watching the show for, gets killed in the second show. You know, I'm like, I'm out of there. You know, let's forget it a second.
Well, I would. I mean, I'd like to mention. You know, this year, in addition to Dune coming out, there was a movie that came out that was called Planet Dune or Dune Planet Dune.
I believe Quinn's Ideas mentioned that as a joke because it's the.
But it's well, yeah. I mean, Asylum puts out a bunch of. You know,
straight to DVD.
Straight to DVD. I guess they would call it. They call them kind of. Are they mockbusters or they're? There's a term for this. But I don't know. I'm
surprised
intrigued. I might check it out.
Don't get sued.
Maybe we'll do a review of that movie in the future.
Absolutely not.
Come on, Planet Dune. It's about a bunch of people that go to a planet that has giant worms.
Ghost in the Shell is what I like to do next.
All right, we're doing Ghost in the Shell next, guys.
Okay.
And until next time, Dune you later. Take it, Dooney.
Okay. I guess we're done. Thanks, guys.